And well, Don, you're a busy guy. You're serving as president of the emcee,
Right.
and also serving on the boards of both the Dallas Producers Association and Dallas Film Society, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you handle all that? And we're not even talking yet about your day job. So.
Well, fortunately, I do have a lot of support at Post Asylum, which is my day job, and they have been able to fill in for me and kind of keep things percolating along while I've devoted a lot of time to the Texas Motion Picture Alliance. And the DPA and the Dallas Film Society are things that are labors of love, and I'm able to, generally handle those obligations fairly easily. It's the Texas Motion Picture Alliance, which is the one that really is the time consumer, but it's so important and so vital to the industry and the state that we do something, and I just feel like it was an obligation that I had to take on to do. And like I said, I've got the support team that's allowed me to do that.
So are you traveling back and forth to Austin these days?
Quite a bit. I'm headed out again tomorrow for a morning meeting with a key legislator who we just want to thank them for their support and let them know what our program has brought to the state of Texas financially and jobs and money spent in the state, and kind of let them know that we are going to be asking for continued support for this program, because the way it works is with the legislature only meeting every 2 years, they create an appropriation that covers us for a 2-year period, but no longer than that. So each session we have to fight for the money that allows us to have an incentive program. Our program has really been effective this last year and a half, 2 years, because we kind of did some tweaks at the last legislative session that made it where it was more competitive. And that has been responsible for bringing all the television series that have come to the state, and we had 5 shows in various stages of production all at one time here in the state, and that would not have happened without the incentive program. We were able to get the Coen brothers to bring a large proportion of the production of True Grit to Texas because of the incentive program. And what works is, when you look at the other advantages Texas has over states like Louisiana, New Mexico, and a lot of other incentive programs across the country, we do have a very skilled labor pool and a very talented and very hard-working. And when you add that with the variety of locations you can get in Texas, one of the reasons Prison Break shot here in North Texas when they came was because they were able to duplicate a look of all these other states within a very short distance of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So they get a lot of bang for their buck location-wise, which a lot of other states can't offer the same variety in the same confined space. And you cannot discount the fact that crews are just exceptional in Texas.
Right. So how has the downturn in the economy affected local film production and TV production? How's that?
Well, the last 2 years have really been tough for everybody in the movie and image industry. And, initially when the economy first started to turn, particularly Dallas was hurt, because Dallas has been dependent on the advertising community for so much of its work from the 50s on. And so typically that is one of the areas that is hurt by an economic downturn first. It's also one of the areas that starts to turn back in the upswing earlier than a lot of other areas, because you still have to sell your products. So Dallas-Fort Worth was really heavily hit by the economic downturn. What helped us weather that was the fact that we did have this incentive program that helped not only with television production, motion picture production, but it also works on commercials, it also works on video game production, it works on informational films, documentaries, so it covers a very wide range of moving image production. But that incentive hit at the right time that helped the local producers that were doing commercial work have an extra enhancement to get the work into the state of Texas and keep it here. So that helped weather the storm a little bit, and it has started to come back, and we've, over the last few months, particularly over the summer, we've definitely seen an upswing coming back. and those crew people that had been kind of displaced off of the commercial market and some of the other areas of the movie and image industry were able to find work on the television series that were coming to the state. So actually, I truly credit the incentive program for having a very large impact of helping us weather the storm. And it's been responsible for bringing over, since it was originally instigated in 2007, the program is responsible for over $500 million of new in-state spending that we would not have had without the incentive program, and has created close to 60,000 production jobs.
Wow, that's a real success story.
It is a great success story.
So aside from True Grit, which we mentioned, a lot of it being filmed in Texas and produced in Texas, are there any new feature productions that are getting some Texas play?
Well, Rick Linklater, who is a local Texas filmmaker out of Austin, all of his films in the recent history have had to be taken outside of the state because of incentives offered elsewhere primarily, and some location specifics. But he is shooting his next film in East Texas. Yay. And the incentive program is largely responsible for him to get the people that are financing that production to allow him to look at Texas, because he can make an economic argument with the other factors that come into play: quality crew, efficient crew, and the incentive program. And when you look at the net effect of money spent, we're pretty competitive with states like Louisiana and New Mexico. So he was able to keep that production in Texas. Tree of Life, which was also shot here, I guess, a little over a year ago, due to be released, I believe, this fall. Another production that we were able to keep partly because of the incentive program. And Terrence Malick, another Texas favorite filmmaker, was able to keep that production in Texas. So there are a lot of other films, but our big success story in just dollar volume has been the television series.
Right.
And the program really works competitively, because when they look at all of the assets Texas has, it's very easy for them to make an economic argument for coming to Texas. And we've proven that economic model works, and we will see more production coming as long as we have that program in place.
So I heard a story about you riding your bicycle around on the set of Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, it's a little stretch. It would have been inappropriate for me to ride my bicycle on the set, but no, I was allowed to skip school and go to see a lot of the filming being done. When Warner Brothers came looking for locations in '66 for the film Bonnie and Clyde, producers were introduced to my father, and we had a sound stage at that time, so they built a lot of the interior sets on our sound stage for the filming, and did a little bit of the production there, but we kind of wound up helping coordinate some of the location production as well. And I was in junior high at the time, and my father, being a filmmaker, felt like it was valid education for me to go out on location. So I would strategically be able to miss a few days here and there from school to go out and watch the shoots, and it was fascinating, and it was such a great experience for me, but it also really was an opportunity to see how efficiently all of these people work together, and just kind of be part of that creative process. Plus, I loved watching cars get blown up and holes shot in them and rolling over and all those kind of things. So as an early teenager, I thought that was just fabulous.
Well, so what does the annual It Came From Dallas event mean for the Dallas Producers Association?
Well, it's one of the, it's a great opportunity to celebrate the true rich history and legacy of production that Dallas and North Texas has in the motion picture television industry. So it's a celebration, but it's really the big fundraiser that the Dallas Producers Association uses to raise money to help support the Texas Motion Picture Alliance. The Dallas Producers Association was instrumental in the formation of the TXMPA and a driving force in the early creation process. And since we are a grassroots organization and we only get the financial support we need to advocate for the industry through memberships and donations and sponsorships. DPA has been the primary sponsor financially of TXNPA, and it came from, it's the primary resource of where that money comes from. So without it came from, I don't think TXNPA would have been able to as effectively advocate as we have been able to do so far.
Right. So are you going to be there Thursday night?
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
Absolutely.
we'll see you at the show.
All right, see you at the show.